Hi YouTube land. This is a video on how to desmog the carburetor on one of these roughly 80 to 82 Tercels. It should work on a later model as long as it's still got the 3 AC engine. Second generation Tercels, like the four-wheel drive ones and stuff, should pretty much be the same. This car had only 101,000 miles on it, and it was totally bone stock when I bought it, but it didn't run. I had to clean out the gas tank. Hadn't run in years. Carburetor was gunked up. I wasn't even sure if the engine was any good, so I wanted to rebuild the carburetor and see what the motor ran like before getting a Weber or something. But I was actually able to get this carburetor to run pretty well, and I had very little money in it, so I thought I'd make a YouTube video on this because there's very little information about how to do this online. So anyway, it seems like not a lot of people are fooling with these cars anymore. Basically, you still see a lot of vacuum line stuff connected, and I just haven't taken it off. And you can also even take off this stuff. That could be a subject for another video. And you really do not need this pipe right here, which connects to the exhaust manifold. I've just got this with some sort of a plug in the end of it. But basically, here's what you need to know about routing vacuum lines. All of the vacuum in the original system comes either from one of these plugs that you see. And by the way, these things right here that are black with a red tip, that's just a vacuum line with a piece of round weed eater string stuck in the end of it. It works really great, super cheap. It's a lot cheaper than buying those plugs from Advance or something. So just make you up about 10 or 15 of those things and just plug stuff off. The distributor is the distributor will be plugged in to this vacuum source right here, and this goes all the way over to the vacuum advance on the distributor. It's this one that you want to use. If you're not sure which one you're going to use, take off the distributor cap and then suck on the line, and the one where you get the most movement for a certain amount of suckage, that's the one you want to use. And you can block off the others if you choose, but I don't think it's necessary. I left in this little check valve. I'm not sure what it's there for, but at any rate, the factory put it in, so I left it. Let's see. Vacuum source. Where does the vacuum come from on this? You got about maybe 3 plugs right there, about 3 plugs on the other side, something like that. And you've got this little tree thing right here on this manifold. It used to have 3 plugs on it. One of them broke off when I was pulling a wire off, so I had to JB weld it. If you got to do that, use the JB weld like they use for gas tanks, because it'll hold up to exposure to gasoline. But you actually don't need any of those ports. The only one that you need is going to be right there, and it's connected to the distributor. Now you could hook it up over there, and I did that, but it just seems to run better on this one. There are videos about whether or not you hook up a distributor to ported or like manifold or intake vacuum or whatever, and you can follow that stuff if you're interested in that. So anyway, I just hooked it up right there, blocked off everything else, and all these other lines, you just don't need them. You can ignore them. This little guy right here it's an auxiliary pump for the primary barrel, and it sounds like it would be something that you would need, but you actually don't need it. I don't know. It shoots in a little bit of gas when like after once you get on the throttle or something like that. I can't remember, but it ended up being it's just something the car runs fine without. You don't really need it, and I just left it off. You can read about what it does and hook it up if you want to, but I just left it off. Let's see. Another thing that I left off was this guy right here. It just seemed like a vacuum leak waiting to happen. That goes up underneath the carburetor, between the carburetor and the manifold. I thought it was best if you leave it off because it's like one less gasket. You may have problems with gaskets leaking because this base plate here, or the spacer which you do need, is sometimes going to be a little warped, so you might want to sand it on a piece of glass. Make sure that it's good and perfectly smooth. Make sure that the intake is also, it was hard, really hard to get a good vacuum seal on this. I spent a lot of time trying to do that. If you're chasing down a bunch of problems, you can't get the idle right, things keep changing and stuff, you've probably got a vacuum leak, and it's probably going to be the base. So take the effort, or to take the time to make the effort to get that spacer right and get it smooth and get everything clean. And use good quality gaskets. You can make your own. I handmade these gaskets out of paper I got from Napa. But anyway, let's see. There, you may have already noticed there's a plug of JB Weld right here. Here's the story behind that. There are 2 Welch plugs on there, aluminum plugs that are tamper resistant. One was just from where they made it. They just had to drill into the side with something and to make a hole, and they plugged it where it was just access for the tool. I took out that one by mistake looking for the bottom one, so I had to plug it back up, but it worked fine. I just used stuff you use to patch a gas tank, and it worked fine. What I was going for was that little screw right behind there that you can barely see right below that. That is the idle mixture screw. That is plugged off with an aluminum plug on the stock carburetor. You need to drill that out and remove it. There are videos online showing you how to do it. It's a Welch plug, W-E-L-C-H plug, and you can watch videos on how to remove that. Once you get it out, you need to take that screw, after you've rebuilt the carburetor and everything, turn that screw all the way in, back it out about a turn and a half, and then you can adjust everything as you need to from there. And you can adjust that at that point. That just, turning it clockwise gives you a leaner mixture at idle. Turning it counterclockwise gives you a richer mixture at idle. This is what controls your mixture when you're idling. When you get up, when the butterfly valve opens a little more, it no longer sucks in fuel through that spot. It sucks it in through the jets and stuff. And then your mixture or lean is going to be controlled by, I think, the level of fuel in the float bowl. And the size of the jet. And by the way, with the level of fuel in the float bowl, what I did is I set up my level a little bit low. I set it up to where it's just below the window in the carburetor, and it runs just fine. If you have it any higher, it might be a little more richer than it needs to be. The idle can be adjusted right here, and I don't know why, but there's another one over here on this side that you can adjust somewhere over here. But you can access this one with the air cleaner on. It's a pain in the butt, but you can do it. If the car just won't start, maybe you can check these. That's a fuel shutoff solenoid. If they go bad, I've read that you can actually take these out, plug it with a bolt of the correct size, and that'll be fine. But anyway, it plugs in right there. Let's see. None of the dash pots you need. Except, well, anything for the choke you might want to leave connected if you've still got a factory choke. I've already taken one of them off because my choke was just kaput, and you can't get chokes for these, so I had to go to a manual choke, but it would be another subject for another video. But here's a dash pot you do need if you have air conditioning, which this car does. I just don't, the air conditioning is not working, and I just haven't hooked this up yet. But this one goes on on a stock car, you'll have a bracket that comes out this way. It's got a bunch of tubes on it and stuff, and this would fit up underneath it like that, I think. And then when you get vacuum, this little tab pushes up, touches the bottom of this, and makes that go on. That's what cranks the idle up a little bit when you've got the AC turned on. So anyway, hope this video has helped somebody, and just let you know that this can be done, and the car runs just fine. So it'll take some work. You have to tinker around with it, but it'll work just fine if you hang in there. You don't actually need to buy a Weber. These carburetors are not difficult to rebuild, but you may have to take it apart a couple of times before you finally get it right. But if you hang in there, you can save yourself the $450 for a Weber. So hope this helped somebody, and have a good day. Thanks. Bye-bye.